Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I am continuing to integrate Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, specifically what he shared about ego and how we can use our ego to create an identity which ultimately leads to suffering because we're not really knowing who we truly are. And also, I went thrifting last week. So this video, we're gonna actually talk about some of the unconscious beliefs that the thrifting taught me that A New Earth really helped me to contextualize. So that's the point of this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Y'all continue to be the sexiest. We are very close to 13,000 subscribers, and y'all are just truly 13,000 of the hottest people. 13, you know, for some folks is an unlucky number. My number is 14 because I was born on the 14th of November. Yes, I am a Scorpio. We are the sexiest. Separate conversation. And I read this book. I'm already talking about different books. I feel like I can't even just talk about one book in a video. I read The Game of Life and How to Play It, and it talks about how we constantly create rules for ourselves. So if we say
13 is an unlucky number,
that means we're looking out for bad stuff to happen at 13. And so now what I say is whenever I see a 14, which is my number, I'm like, boom, that's my number. That means good stuff. But then I always say after it, all numbers are my lucky numbers. So I'm very excited to get to 13 because that's one of my many lucky numbers. Let's go ahead and get into this video. For context, I used to live in Los Angeles where thrifting is a very cool thing to do. I think part of the reason why thrifting is cool in LA is because there's so much money in LA, and I think being cool is a mix of like fitting in but also standing out and being exclusive. So I think because there's so much money, it actually would be easier to buy like a head to toe fit of just name brands, and so it's like paradoxically less cool to do that, and it's more cool to have these things that are special and unique. And I just really want to clarify, there's been a lot of like YouTube sociology happening, all right? That's not this. I'm not gonna give y'all citations. I'm not doing any research, all right? This is not gonna be an MLA format. We only operate on vibes on this channel. I'm not getting graded on this. Do not grade me in the comments. And honestly, I think we should stop pretending that school is anything but vibes because we know those grades don't matter. That's a separate rant. Anyway, so I only went thrifting once in LA, but I got 2 items of clothing. One is this sweater and the other one is this pair of pants. Literally, I've worn them so many times. After that experience, I was like, you know what, Chimdi?
let's only thrift from now on.
Not counting my delicates. And speaking of delicates, I literally just last night watched the Savage X Fenty. I always thought it was Savage times Fenty, like math, but Savage X Fenty fashion show. Y'all, that ish was sexy. I was like, this is so hot. This is so hot. Normani's like section alone with the, yeah, I mean, if you see it, you know what I'm talking about, with the roll-in. I was like, oh, this is, I need a moment. I really just need to take a break, you know? So strongly recommend. I'm really gonna buy, like it worked because I'm legitimately gonna buy some Savage X Fenty now because I'm like,
I wear Tommy Hilfiger. Why do I wear a white man around my waist when I could be wearing a black woman?
all right, so I'm definitely gonna support you, Rihanna. Love your whole vision, you know, keep doing you. Can you imagine Rihanna watching this and being like, yeah, thank you, Chimdi, I appreciate that. But listen, we gotta give our flowers out, you know, while we're still here. The sustainability part, of course, is great. I actually watched this show on HBO called The Hype. It's this competition show with streetwear designers, and they brought the one designer on. He actually said that we have enough clothes currently to clothe like cloth like the next like 3 or 4 generations, right? So literally every single new piece of clothing that we manufacture is wasteful. And I was like, wow. So I was like, okay, there really is no excuse to not be buying thrifted stuff, all right? So I was committed to that. Brought my sexy ass here to the DC, Maryland, Virginia region, all right? And I was like, okay, we're gonna experience some falls, we're gonna experience some winters. My crop tops are not gonna protect me in this season. I only have 2 pairs of jeans and one of them has holes in them, and I do love them holes, but it's not really gonna support me right now. I do have a really nice coat, but it is not made for keeping me warm. It's really made for just the vibes. It's a coat vibe, you know, it's not really a functional coat. So I was like, all right, it's time to go thrifting. And so here are where the 2 things, just to bring it back to Eckhart Tolle, here are the 2 things that came up for me when I decided to start going thrifting. So the first thing is I decided to go to a Goodwill, which is around my area. The first thing I thought was this immediate kind of shame, you know, this immediate feeling of like, I literally can't afford to buy new clothes, and I have this internalized belief that's like, if you can afford new clothes, you like, not only should you buy new clothes, but why wouldn't you buy new clothes? Like, that's just a strange, like, it's just a confusing thing to do, you know? And the only reason you would buy secondhand clothes is because you are poor. And because we live in America, we know that poor means you're a bad person. It's actually a reflection on your character and not a symptom of our incredible systemic oppression and the lack of a social safety net. Look at me bringing my policy degree into this video. So I was like, oh, I'm not a poor person though. And I literally was telling a friend like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the Goodwill later. And I felt this like shame in me. And I was like, oh, we should unpack that. And here we are unpacking it. And what I appreciate is that I had the awareness to realize like,
oh, this is creating something in my body.
And I almost felt this urge to start like justifying why I was doing it and start listing, you know, it's really sustainable, you can get some really good deals, and it's really high quality, it's good for the environment, like, you know, all the reasons why. And I had this self-awareness to not actually start doing it because I understood that was a coping mechanism. But it was interesting in real time seeing that there was a part of me that felt like this was a bad thing to be doing, and it was a signifier of me being like a less worthy person because I didn't choose to spend my money in a certain way. And Eckhart Tolle talks about ego in the sense of ego being those thoughts and realizing that you are not your thoughts, you are not your identity, you are not the clothes you wear, you are this, you know, formless life, this being, right? And so when you can recognize the thoughts, like that first step of awareness is already separation from the ego and of awakened consciousness. And one thing Mickey Singer talks about is that we talk about living this life of liberation. We are actually making choices and living with intent versus just running on unconscious patterns, not even realizing how we found ourselves in certain situations. And so truly every single moment is a chance to like bring yourself back to your conscious awareness and to make conscious choices. So I found myself in the Goodwill. A tip for thrifting, if you don't know this already, is to wear like tight form-fitting clothes so you can just try things on top of your clothes. So I wore like biker shorts and I wore just like a tank top. And so I was able to try on jeans and sweaters and all these things and really see how they would fit my body. Just a little tip for you. But yeah, I'm in this Goodwill, having my good little time, making friends with people. It's so fun just being out in public, you know? So then the second thing that came up for me was what Eckhart Tolle talks about, which is name brands as identity enhancers. So when we don't know who we are and we don't realize our core conscious awareness, we are then thinking we are our job, clothes, friends, how big our social following is.
We are our relationships, we are the city we live in, we are the sports team we support, you know, we are our political party, we are our race, we are our gender.
Those things become who we are when we don't understand that we are this conscious awareness. And specifically when we use clothes as an identity enhancer, he says, in many cases you are not buying a product but an identity enhancer. Designer labels are primarily collective identities that you buy into. They are expensive and therefore exclusive. If everybody could buy them, they would lose their psychological value, and all you would be left with would be their material value, which likely amounts to a fraction of what you paid. So I read this before going into the Goodwill. So I did this thing, and my ego, you know, the ego is a little tricky mofo, right? So I went into the Goodwill thinking like, look at me being superior, and if you've seen my last video, you know that means that's your ego acting up. Look at me being superior to all those people who are paying full price for these identity enhancers. I am instead going to enhance my identity at a fraction of the cost. And so here I am buying all this dope stuff from the Goodwill. Genuinely, I am very proud of what I was able to buy. I bought this dope Under Armour jacket, literally for $13. I didn't know it was Under Armour because like the tags are ripped off, but then I zoomed in on the zipper, and I must say I was pretty proud of my sleuthing skills to figure out that was Under Armour. This is actually my favorite jacket that I'm wearing. I got it. It's the only one that's not a fancy name brand. This one is from like the Walmart No Boundaries brand. It's also an extra large. So I'm guessing this must have been like a child's jumper. That's what they call it in Britain. But I was also able to get like these dope Levi's jeans, literally $6. All the tags were still on and the original price was $69.99. I got this pair of jeans from Urban Outfitters. I got this sweater from Express. Like, I truly cleaned up good. You know what I'm saying? I was feeling really proud of myself. But what I thought was so interesting, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen all these clothes. What I thought was so interesting is that I am still very proud of the fact that I have these name brands and that I have very like recognizable name brands. Like, we know what the back of a Levi's pair of jeans look like. And so I'm still like trying to get the best of both worlds, which is not having paid that much money, done something that was sustainable, so I can, my ego is being built by the fact that I'm like such a good person who's like doing this great stuff for the earth while also not buying into the capitalist blah blah blah, etc. But then I also get to have whatever social cachet I perceive comes with having name brand jeans or like, you know, truly high quality clothing. And it was just really interesting sitting with the fact that even when we are being very aware and intentional about our choices, we can still be falling into these unconscious patterns. And it's really just a matter of always bringing it back to, do you think you are enough without a pair of Levi's jeans? Do you think you are enough without this dope ass sweater? You know, and I'm pretty sure I am. But the fact that I have any qualifier around it at all suggests like, hey, maybe there are actually some still growth areas, you know, around this. I don't really have an answer, and that's one thing I love about, you know, YouTube sociology, is I feel like I never finished watching those videos having any kind of direction or path. I just like know a little bit more about a subject, and I'm just like, okay, that's interesting, I guess. So, and one thing I try to do on my YouTube videos is really try to like make them helpful. So I think it's really just comes down to like, read A New Earth because it's dope and it's truly helping me learn so much. Shop at Goodwill if you can afford it, because also there's that whole, I don't want to get into the politics of thrifting about like, should you be buying stuff if only certain people can afford it? Of course, the folks who like buy it and then like upsell it on like Depop and those kinds of stores. I'm like, listen, y'all, you can't be mad at capitalism, all right? I really don't want to end this by defending capitalism. That's not what the world needs. Those arguably are not my politics, I guess. Wow, it's weird how there's a part of me that really does want to defend it, but it's only because I did debate. It's only because I did debate I can see things from both sides. Let me know in the comments, how are you doing with your ego dismantling, with murdering your ego, with killing it in cold blood? Or are you welcoming it in as an awesome part of yourself? That's what I have with my ego. I'm like, ego, you out here, you doing some wild shit, and low-key, I love you for it, and you're real sexy. My ego is like, you sexy too. I've got the ego that thinks I'm great, you know, it's always building me up. That's also my favorite thing, is that some people have the egos that are like genuinely talking down to them, and I do have the voice, right, that's like the critical voice as well, but I think my dominant ego voice is one of like,
girl, you're great.
And I'm just like, honestly, I agree. Thanks for watching, y'all. Subscribe, like, see you in the next one. Bye.